morning to you, our dear viewers. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for keeping it locked, Mizpah Television. Today's on a Tuesday, and we all know Ikifika Tuesday, we have Lifestyle Tuesday. So welcome to Lifestyle Tuesday, the only place where we have conversations that can help us, be aligned with our walk in Christ. And so I hope you're still embracing your Christian lifestyle. As I always tell you that it is very well the conversations that we are always having here to use them as a practice each and every day. So my name is Grace Haron, and welcome to another segment where we are going to have an insightful discussion. But before that, let us know where you're watching us from in the comments. You can reach us on our WhatsApp number, that is 0799200100, or follow us on all our social media platforms. We are live on Facebook and on YouTube. Hapo kwa YouTube and kwa Facebook, just drop a text and tell us where are you watching us from, and we'd love to hear from you and connect with you. So we are in the month of May, and let me tell you that this month, it is the Mental Health Awareness Month. This is the month to shed light on the importance of mental wellness, our well-being, our inner selves, because we are in a world full of noise, a lot of activities, a lot of pressures. But are we having that time to sit down and analyze our inner self and take care of our inner self? So today's topic is cultivating the inner being, and we want to understand how can we cultivate our soul, our mind, so that we can be able to live well. Because huku nje najua kuna watu wanatembeanga lakini akili zao ziko mbali sana. Some are battling with unforgiveness, bitterness and all that, and a lot of emotions ambazo zinawasumbua, and they make them not to be effective. So join us, just tune in till the end. And to make this discussion even more insightful, I'm having an incredible guest in the house. She's a mental wellness coach. Her name is Joan Njeri Gashoka, and I know that what she has, because she's a certified psychologist, and this makes her fit for today's discussion. So just sit back and enjoy our discussion. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
You can say hello to the viewers.
Hello viewers. My name is Hannah Joan Njeri Gashoka. I have 4 names which I love so much. As Grace has said, I'm a wellness coach. I'm also a psychologist by profession. I'm so happy to be here today. Yes.
I can see in your description you say that you're a psychotherapy and spiritual, psychologist that integrates psychotherapy and spiritual for holistic well-being.
Yes.
If you can explain that a little bit.
All right. So I use psychotherapy tools that are very scientific, and I incorporate that with a lot of spirituality. Spirituality that is leaning on the word of God and leaning in the faith that leads us every day. So that is what I do, because I understand that the two have to work together. For you to be rooted in your purpose, for you to be rooted in your way of living, you have to incorporate God in it. You have to have a source that you can rely on in times of hardships, in times of challenges. So it's very important to blend in the two. Yes.
Wow, we are yet to learn more from you today. I see you have a lot of content. Ushaanza kumwaga content.
Kabisa.
So this month, as a wellness coach, we are in the mental wellness awareness month.
Yes, we are.
What can you say? What is why is it important to have this month?
Okay, one thing I know is that for the past few years, in this country especially, we have not been so well aware about mental health. It's this time that people now are getting to know that I need to see a therapist. We are getting to hear terms like anxiety, depression, and especially with our generation as youths, you're getting these words here and there online. So there is a lot of awareness that we need to create. People need to know the importance of having this. People need to know that our thoughts matter. They contribute a lot to the life that we live every day. So this is something that is of concern, and something that I'm very happy to see people getting to know.
Wow, that's incredible. Our viewers, I hope you're going to celebrate this month and make sure you sit down and analyze yourself. So today we're talking about cultivating the inner being. And we want to understand first, what is inner being? When you talk about the inner self, is it something that, what does it really mean? Ni kitu ambayo inakuja ina make a person, what according to you?
So the inner person is the truest. I'd define it as the truest, most deepest part about ourselves. It's a very authentic part.
Yes.
It is a part that is comprised of our beliefs, our thoughts.
Wow.
It is comprised of our views about life, growing up, the misconceptions that we have carried. It is what makes it up.
So it is also the inner self.
It is the inner self. Actually, it is not just the surface level. We are used to the surface level. What we are is the outer self. Then who we are is the inner self.
I love
That's
that.
why it's also comprised of the spirit essence, the soul essence in it. Yes.
Wow, I love what you've said, because we all know, okay, when I was doing my research, I realized that we are made of 3 parts.
Yes.
You have the body,
Yes.
the soul,
Yes.
and the mind.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So like I was like, okay, we always see the physical part.
Yes.
When someone is maybe looking all gloomy, you
Yes.
think they are doing well. But then there is the inner us. The soul and the mind, how are they connected?
Yes.
Like I would ask, if the spirit is not well, does it
Yes.
mean the mind will not be well?
Yes. So what happens is that because we have focused so much on the outer self, we have neglected the inner self. We don't even have the awareness to know. I've talked about the thoughts that comprise the inner self. So number 1, if the thoughts that I have are not of good to me, they don't lead to more health, what is going to happen? They are going to break my spirit. They are also going to break my body. Because if I have thoughts that are ever negative towards my body, my physical body, I'm ever waking up and saying, I don't love myself. I don't love the way I look. I don't love my meals. You know, I don't like taking care of myself. So that is what will manifest on the physical. All right? So that is how they intertwine. The 3 of them are needed, and we need them healthy, Grace. Yes.
Oh my goodness. So it means it is that serious.
It is that
if you
serious.
start even talking ill of yourself, it will affect the physical you.
Yes. And I'll give an example of this using a wellness platter. You know, when we have a plate that is divided into small portions, there is the meal that we will put more of, the one that we like a lot, even in a buffet setting, you know. So that is what we find ourselves doing when it comes to our own lives. You find that there is that area that you have focused so much on, and for us it has been the outer self, you know, to do with how I look. And you can tell, especially during this era, that we are focusing so much on what we are.
What we are,
what I have, you know, the names, the titles, the things that I own, that we are forgetting the inner. So that plate, the portion is very small, that it has been so neglected that it cannot sustain us. And we forget one very important thing, Grace. This inner self that we have been neglecting is the foundation that we read about in the Bible, the strong foundation that we need to have. You know, once we don't cater for it, once we don't take care of our thoughts, our emotions, this is what we will portray. This is what we will manifest in our life. And the house is going to fall.
Oh my goodness. I love that. So it means if your emotions are not, so okay, you know, you've said that people are focusing more on the outer. People are chasing, each and every time you are chasing the bag, you want everything to look well on the outside, but people are not investing on the inside. So it means people have to invest on the inside. Oh, our viewers, I hope you are resonating with this. If you are so much investing on the outside, you should think about the inside. And so when we neglect now the inside, how is the looking? How is the looking especially?
Okay. All right. So this is how you know as a person that you have neglected your inside, you know, the inner part of yourself. Number 1 is constant worries. Especially right now, we are in a world where it's all about hurry. You know, it's all about doing things very, very, very fast, you know, that we find that stillness is a lack of something. We don't even embrace things like that. We no longer even embrace solitude. So you see that as one of the manifestations. A lot of worries, a lot of anxieties. That's why people are also having depression, being the second attribute to that. You know, depression, anxiety, something else that you will find, it is lack of purpose. Because on the inside, we don't even know who we are. We've not taken time to understand, as Joan, as Grace, who am I? If we have not answered that question, then how are we going to live a life that is aligned with? So we are going to lack meaning, we are going to lack purpose. We're also going to be in a process of self-sabotage, Grace. And this comes along, and I want to also talk to the viewer, this comes along as you have goals. Maybe you want to achieve something in life, something very specific, and you work very hard towards it, but the inner system is not working for you. It is against you. So on the outside, you're hustling. You know, you are praying every day, God, do this for me. God, manifest this. Why have you forgotten me? But on the inside, the system is telling you, for example, that kwetu, this is not possible. I've never seen somebody do this. Or people who do this are like this. So the system is working against you. So unless you go on the inside, work on that, you know, change that mindset, change those core beliefs, then you will align to what you want on the outer self. Oh,
so hey, oh my goodness, I'm learning today. So it means the inner self, if the inner self is not aligned to the things you want to do in life, hata kama maybe umejitolea kuamka mapema kufanya kazi, but the inner self hana motivation. You know, there's a word that says the soul is, the heart is willing, but the what is not, I don't know, something of the sort. So it means if the inner self is not really motivated, the outer self will not really bring results. Okay, what about burnouts and all that? Are there some signs and symptoms of
Yes. So we have depression, we have anxiety, constant worry, we have lack of purpose, we have burnout and boredom, you know, feeling you lack energy, and that is because of the emotions that we hold. I love the fact that you talked about forgiveness and letting go, because when you talk about emotions as part of the inner selves, that's a very big core. Everybody right now, I hope we reach a point where everybody knows that their emotions matter, and they are our friends, not enemies. Feeling anger does not mean that the emotion is bad. You know, we are so much used to labeling because of how we've been raised, because of what we've been taught. But learning that this is an emotion, it lasts for about 90 seconds. So if I can stay with it, if I can allow this emotion and say, I am feeling angry, it's an emotion. And what is an emotion? We need to know that emotions are energy in motion. All right? And that's why, for example, when we are angry, you can tell where our energy goes and where it's located. For some of us, we start sweating. For some of us, our palms start shaking. For some of us, the energy goes to the throat. At times, you'll feel like there is something there. You want to speak it out. Yes. So you need to understand that this is energy. So it is where you place it. If you want to deal with your emotions in a healthy way, know that it is energy. Where can I take this energy in a healthier way? Maybe I can go do boxing if I just feel I want to be physical, you know. Maybe I can just use this energy to sing a song. I'm angry, I just want maybe to be yes, you want to be negative, and you know it's a tendency that when you're angry you'll be vocal or use abusive language. Take that minute to sing a song. What happens is that it's the energy, and you have just redirected it for your good, for your own health. Oh
my goodness. So it means if you feel you're angry, or you're feeling you feel bad, you feel bitter, you're not supposed to like ujifanya. I'm not feeling anything. So it means you have to allow yourself walk through that path of feeling bad, taking down the emotions and say, you know what, I feel bad and nimekosewa hapa and all that.
Actually, there is I'll take you through a process, just a brief process of how we deal with our emotions, because at the end of it, I want the viewer to know there is something you can do about your emotions. Number one is awareness. We all need awareness. The fact that right now we are talking about the inner self, there is somebody at the end of this, we realize that I've just been focusing on the outside. I need to do something. So number one, when we feel an emotion, let's be aware. What am I feeling? Where am I feeling it? Can I locate my emotion? Is it in my hands? Is it in my legs? Is it in my heart? You know? Then from there you are able to deal with it. There are ways that we have been dealing with emotions that izo za kukanyangia, you know, assuming that are not very healthy. One of the ways that most of us deal with our emotions is number one, through suppression.
Very true.
Yes, this is ile wakati you have experienced something that is not good. And what you do, because you don't want to, you actually don't know how to deal with the emotion. So what you do, you suppress it, unaikanyangia. You don't want to feel it. Hii hapana.
Yes.
Is it a deal nayo? So unaikanyangia. And you find that this is not the solution. Because sasa inakaa ile chupa. Unajua chupa, when you keep bottling, unakuja unarusha kakitu, nani alinifanyia, you just put it in there. Nani alinifanyia, unaongeza. Hii kachupa utakuwa kama ticking bomb. Ile siku mtu anakupuliza tu kidogo, unalipuka.
Unalipuka tu unashangaka niwe.
Juu umekuwa ukinini. So that is one way. Number 2 is the repression. These are times when you go through a lot of trauma, maybe severe trauma. Or you experience something that you don't even know how to process it at the moment. So what happens, it doesn't even come to your conscious awareness. That's why you'll find kuna watu, when they're emergencies or in critical moments, uyo mtu, when they're supposed to be running, they're still. They don't even know how to act. So they have not even processed the emotion. Haijafika mahali level yao ya understanding what is happening. So iyo nayo, you will need to go through therapy. You will need to go through counseling until we dig deep and make you aware of this emotion. The third way we deal with emotion is through expression. We do this a lot. Talk therapy.
Yes.
You know, especially now in this generation, we are talking, whether it's on social media, if we have a problem, you know, we'll talk to a friend. So you find that we vent a lot. But at times you are venting to friends who are also going through issues.
The same.
Friends who maybe will not be very confidential. In their kind way of trying to help us, they are going to share our challenges with our friends. And maybe we just wanted to tell somebody who can listen to us and, you know, and get to see our perspective. But we are looking at them as a coach, as a therapist, and they are not that. They are our friend. So we're even breaking boundaries. You know, because we are taking our problems to them. So that too just removes, that works, but inatoa ile to the upper layer yenye iko na pressure.
So bado unabaki na mengine huko.
Hiyo ingine iko hapo. So the last one is avoidance. Hii kwanza ndio backbone ya liquor industry na entertainment. You know? Avoidance or escape. And it's also the path of a workaholic. Because kutoka asubuhi nimeingia job. Then nikitoka jioni niko na kazi kidogo kidogo tena job. To avoid feeling. To avoid connecting to the inner self.
Movies, they go to social media.
Yes. So those are ways that we have been dealing with emotions, but they don't necessarily deal with the emotions completely. The good way is to be aware of the emotion and then learn to let it go. Yes.
Oh my goodness, this calls to action for you, our viewers. We have a long way to go to work on our emotions and our inner being. How is it connected to faith?
Okay, so now the connection to faith is this. When on the inside, you first realize that the inside is, most of us, it's very empty, especially for those who have not worked on the inside. When we talk about things like forgiveness, when we talk about God, we need God in our life. Another thing about that, we need faith so that we can be able to move on. Somebody we can lean on, you know, somebody we know. One thing about God and one thing about faith is that it is beyond human. It is on the spiritual aspect of our own self. There are things that we cannot feel for ourselves, but God can. And how? Because we can be able to cast these burdens unto Him. And the way of casting is something that we need to be conscious about. At times we can be very also stuck on the spiritual that we forget we need to take action. You know, at times you are telling God, you know what, God, I need you to anchor me. Show me a path of how I can love myself. But bado tuko kwa steering. Sisi ndo driver.
Show me how to forgive the other, lakini bado.
Yes, so we need God in that essence. And our faith is very important because it will help us in times when we doubt our healing. In times when we second guess, am I really healing? Is this happening to me? You know, in times when you need to pray, because prayer also helps a lot. You know, because prayer connects you to a divine power. It connects you to a source that will refill you and, you know, fill the inner parts of yourself. So that is very important. And you know, if you don't know who you are, if you don't know God, then where are you going to start your journey?
If you don't know who you are, you don't know God,
Yes.
it will be hard for you.
Definitely.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
We need to go for a short break, but I love your perspective and your insight. You really have some nuggets of wisdom concerning these things, and I know we will continue learning from you even in the next part of it.
Yes.
Thank you so much, our dear viewers, for being part of today's discussion. We're talking about cultivating the inner being. We want to understand how our mental wellness can be helped, grounded in faith. And we've been told you should know who you are, but not starting from the outside of you, but the inner side of you. Are you well in your soul, your mind, your heart? How are you doing? How are your emotions? We are going for a short break, but we will be right back with more. Welcome to Lifestyle Tuesday. Today is another time to learn. We are talking about cultivating the inner being. As I said earlier, we are in the Mental Health Awareness Month, shedding light on the importance of mental wellness, and we are all supposed to sit down and analyze the inner self. We should understand that, am I okay in the inside, my soul, my spirit? How am I doing? And today I'm having an incredible guest who is sharing a lot of insights. And before we get into our discussion, I want to invite all ladies for the Ladies of Nobility monthly prayer meeting this coming Saturday, the 17th of May 2025, here at Mizpah House of Prayer. We are welcoming you. As long as you're a lady, no matter the age, we are welcoming you, because this time is an amazing time for all ladies to come together for prayer and intercession for our homes, the nation, and the body of Christ. And again, it is a time for us to be equipped and trained how to walk in our divine calling, because we as ladies, I know there are many callings that the Lord has called us to. So just tag a friend, tag along your fellow woman, your fellow lady, au mabisho nakwanga nao wasichana. We welcome you, all of you, here at Mizpah House of Prayer. It's located in Bahati, Nakuru. For more information, just contact 0727 766 553. So we are back again.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
We are learning a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. So we are back now. We had talked about some causes of how the causes of the inner us,
Yes.
the traumas you've said.
Yes.
That cause our inner being to be okay.
Yes.
Maybe I would ask, can lack of spiritual discipline, like reading the word, prayer, going to church, having that community, can it affect our inner being?
Yes, it can. Because one thing we will find is that we will not be grounded as individuals. So we need that grounding in our life.
Yes.
So by the time we connect, we fill our spiritual cup. Remember we talked about the platter.
Yes.
So if our spirituality is not filled, something is missing.
Yes.
So it's about being holistically filled and holistically well.
Yes.
So we need that in our life. And remember, spirituality is our pillar, because it helps us when we can't hide from ourselves. At times we will wear masks, grace, you know, and we'll go to people and tell them life is happening like this, or this is who we are, but on the inside we can't hide from ourselves. So we need to be honest with ourselves. And that spirituality plays a big role in who we become, how stable we are, how purposeful we are, and how intentional we are
so
about
it is
life.
part of the importance of why we should go to church, because watu wengi wanasemanga church iko kwa moyo. So does it play a part for us going to church and listening to the word and also coming together, the fellow brethren?
Yes.
Can it help you?
So one thing I'll talk about, those are two things that I want to highlight. Number one is spirituality.
Yes.
Spirituality is an internal journey, and that's why we have talked about the inner self. And people have different ways of understanding that.
Yeah.
For some people, they'll think that, you know, when I'm alone and I can interpret the word of God, I am good to go.
Yeah.
I can sink into that part of me, you know, I can feel it, you know.
Yes.
But others, they prefer going to church, because then there is communion. Because in church there is also that the social aspect.
Yeah.
You get to align with people who are where you are. Because remember, we are talking about thoughts, we are talking about friendships. So if you want to be with people that are aligned with what you do, then you have to be where they are.
Yeah.
If that is in church, then that is where you have to be. If that is through a prayer group, if that is through communion, Bible study, that is where you will feel that you are truly filled. All right?
Yeah.
So that is very important.
Wow, so
at the end of the day is feeling ourselves.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. Kama uko hapo na unasema kwenda kanisa, it's not important. I'm trying to think about the people ambao wengi wameokoka and they don't have such a community, and maybe sorry to say they have a toxic toxic community, for example, kama anaendanga anapatana watu ambao they are so toxic, how will that person be?
Okay, so remember we have talked about thoughts, and it's good that we have come back to that, because thoughts can either make us or finish us. That is one thing we need to understand. So if our thoughts are ever on the negative, then what is that going to happen? What is that going to do to us? It's going to lean us more towards negativity. So if we have friends that keep thinking about negativity, these are the things that they'll keep talking to us about. So we are going to be into that loop of negative thinking. So thoughts are very contagious. So if I'm with you and your thoughts are ever on the negative, ever on the unhealthy side, very soon I lean into that. So show me your friends and I'll show you who you are. That is what it entails. So we need to keep assessing, what are my thoughts? Every morning, Grace, ask yourself, are my thoughts for me today? Or are they against me? And then what can I do about it? You know, are they working for me? Are they helping me reach my goal? If my goal is to be more intentional this year with God, are my thoughts helping me in that?
Wow, I love that. If you're looking to hit a certain goal, are your thoughts really into that? Oh, now we can now get into cultivating the practical ways. We can give. I know someone is asking. No, you're telling me all that. No, but how can I do it?
All right. Okay. So I'll say healing is very broad, and it's not a journey for the weak, just like any other way of healing. Because remember, we are so used to showing the outside part of us that we have neglected the inside. So the journey to coming back within requires a lot of grace, and it requires a lot of strength. That's why we talk about spirituality being a very strong pillar. So number one is self-awareness. I want you to take time to ask yourself, who am I? And be very intentional to know what that means to you. If it means asking God, yes, reveal to me, who am I? Beyond what I am, beyond my profession, beyond my siblings, my family, who am I? You know, in terms of the spirit essence, who am I? And that will help you identify your purpose. So the moment you discover who you are, then the journey of healing starts from there. So number two.
Before you go to number two, are there tips that I can say, these are the tips to help me understand myself? Maybe unaangalia una check, am I this personality? Am I this? Are there tips?
Yes, there are. Definitely, I got some nuggets for you. So there are tips to know who you are. Number one, start by asking, where was I born? Where I was born will help you know the mindset of the people where you are born and where you grew up. Also, it will help you know the core beliefs that you have carried along, maybe the things you are told or not told. Number two, assess. What is it? Have a list of what do I think about myself, and be very honest. In exploring who you are.
Be honest.
Just write somewhere. What do I think about myself? Start. I am. Then go on. Let it flow.
You are weak, you are a bad person, just write it.
Let it flow. If you feel I am stupid, I am this, I am, you just write it. The idea is not to judge it. The idea is to know what you have not known. You know, because these are the things that you portray. The only person who has not been knowing is you. So now you want to start loving self. You want to develop a relationship with yourself like you have never had before. We talk about relationships with other people and we neglect the one we have with ourselves.
You try to understand the other person. You're always having time with them to understand themselves.
But we neglect the relationship that we should have with ourselves, with our thoughts and with our behaviors. So number one is thoughts. Number two, my behaviors. Write down. How do I behave when this happens? When I'm angry and all that. Number three, knowing yourself. How do I behave when I'm angry, when I'm happy? Those things are nuggets that will help you. Any discovery about self is worth everything.
Wow, I love that. That's a very good eye-opening perspective. And it will really help people understand themselves. Our viewers, if you're in that journey of self-awareness, ama hujaanza, those are the tips that you should start with as soon as possible. Thank you so much for that. So after we have self-awareness, then which is the other practical way to
the other practical way is through affirmation. First of all, you have known yourself, then go to the core beliefs. Let me put that as a second, as a good guideline. Number two, core beliefs. Ask yourself, what have I been told before you even go to yourself, because it might not be easy to be very vulnerable with yourself, you know, maybe there'll be a lot of judgments. Growing up, ask yourself, growing up, what did I hear a lot? What did people say about me? Especially our caregivers that we love so much, that have taken care of us. Could be your mother or a sibling who took care of you. What did they usually say about you? Maybe she's stupid, she's this, she's that, he is that, you know? And those things have shaped who you are today without you knowing. And that is what leads to self-sabotage. You already believe that you are not worthy. So even if you are in a position to do something, you will not do. You will find yourself sabotaging it. And I'll give an example. Growing up, I did not feel worthy. I had not seen many women in my life driving, you know, or many women doing things that I really loved. But I had a passion for that. So I remember just right after school enrolling for driving. I had paid for AA and I was so happy, you know, now I'm going to drive. That was my goal. And I went through the driving school, that is course, for some time. I was very good with the practicals, but when it came now to the time to do the exam and have the driving license, I started feeling like, no, this is not for me. I started postponing it. I started feeling, nitaenda kesho, laziness, procrastination started cropping in. But then I could not realize that I was sabotaging myself, because the thoughts that were behind me and running the show, because remember the inner side runs the show, they were telling me that we have never seen somebody driving. You might get an accident. People die of accidents, you know. Maybe you are too young to drive. So there were so many thoughts. I had even had people who have cars act like this. They do a lot of things. And because I had the perception of I'm a good girl, so there is no way that the system that protects me would allow me to do that, to have a driving license, because I'm going to die. I'm going to be a bad girl, and I have a vision of a good girl, you know. So those are things that sabotage us. That is on core beliefs. Write down in every area that maybe you're even stuck in. Maybe you want something but it's not manifesting. Just write something of what core beliefs do I have around this area. What are my thoughts? Do I hate people? Do I carry resentment around people in this area? Maybe do I hate? At times we hate who we want to become. Exactly.
They hide themselves by saying, this is how I am.
And at times we are hating the person we want to become. We are hating the things that we yearn for, you know. So getting to understand that clears the path, you know. It gives you a clear vision, and you now work with intentionality from there. So after that, you can also do affirmations. Now you have realized this is my problem, then affirm. You see, the way we clap for other people during an event, you want to clap for them, they have given a good speech, you want to appreciate them, but we are not taught to also do the same to ourselves. So I say this every morning: start by blessing yourself.
Oh, so it's important.
Yes, it's an affirmation, because you know you are going to be with yourself even after whatever you're going to do that day.
Yes,
you will stay with yourself.
Yourself, you still carry yourself.
You will still be with yourself. So start by affirming, I am worthy. That's a very, very strong statement. Even to our viewers today, affirm your worthiness and know your worthiness is who you are. That is what God sees you. When he says that he sees you with a lot of love and a lot of grace, that is what God means. That you are worthy, despite or beyond things you have gone through. You are worthy beyond the things that are happening at the moment. So affirm your worth, affirm what you want in your life. I am blessed. I am graceful today. I am peaceful today. You know, you are putting out words, and words are energy. You are putting that, you're manifesting that for your day and for the area that you want to work on.
Wow, so it's something. You need a journal. Our viewers.
Yes,
you need a journal for yourself. If you don't have a journal, it's good to journal, to start journaling from today. What about setting boundaries? Because as I said earlier about the toxic friends and the environment.
So let me talk about the journaling part. I know that some of us fear journaling. There are so many fears in journaling. Maybe we are fearing, what if somebody, you know, gets to see? Yes, ni wasichana na mtu akiona. So I'll put this insight that you can always try a journal that you can plaque or a book. Write something, then even pluck it and throw it away. One thing you have let it out from the mind to
the book.
The book.
So it's important.
It is important to do that.
Okay.
Yes, so now let's go to boundaries. Boundaries are very important.
Yes.
At times, let me tell you, we have been living a facade. Ni masks tu tumevaa huku. You know, we are pretending at times that we like things that we don't like. Reason? Because on the inside we feel empty. We want connection. We want love. We want attention. We want to be valued by our friends. So we even find ourselves saying yes to things that we need to say no to. So setting boundaries is very important, but it's a challenge if you don't know who you are. So you start by knowing who you are. You know, you can't give grace from an empty cup. You have to fill your cup first. So that then you're not setting boundaries to avoid experiencing certain emotions. You are setting boundaries because you know they are aligned with what you want. Yes. So that is very important. First know yourself, then set the right boundaries. Yes.
Wow, I love that. I'm loving that, because right now we walk all the time to places where the yani ziko toxic. You may find that kuna mtu ako kwa toxic job. Ameenda hivyo kwa barabara amepatana na toxic people, na pia yeye amebeba emotions zake. So inafika place and I feel, you know what, I am mad. I am carrying these things and zina pressure zinafanya akwe tu sijui aje. But thank you so much for sharing that. What about gratitude? Can gratitude be part of cultivating the inner being?
Definitely, I was to go to that, because after you affirm, then you show gratitude. And gratitude, you're not even just showing it to God mainly, because at times you just look at it, I need to tell God thank you. You know, he already knows he was giving me these things. But also gratitude towards self, because remember, God uses you. God uses your body. You know, that's why we have a body, and God uses you to make sure that his visions come manifest.
Wow.
So we need to first make sure that yes, we tell God thank you for life, thank you for waking us up, but something else we need to do to be thankful to ourselves. Thank you to me. I am grateful that I'm alive. I'm grateful that I'm here today. I'm grateful that I can be able to read. I can be able to have a conversation. I can be able to relate better. I'm grateful that I'm healing, that I'm remembering who I am. You know, gratitude really fuels us. Ni kama tumafuta.
Maybe you're like, I'm grateful I was able to, you know, to just sit down in the office and type something, maybe
Yes, that is in recognition of self. And when I talked about clapping, I was looking at that. We clap to other people to recognize their efforts. We have been shown at times, based on where we have grown up, that the only time we can really appreciate another person is when we are clapping for them, not for us. We have always been shown to give that out, not for yourself. So when we are coming to the journey to the inner person, we need to start recognizing ourselves. At times, grace, just sit and clap for yourself, for living, for being able to pick your cup and place it to another place. That requires grace at times, you know. For being able to do something that you have been procrastinating on. For being able to call somebody, a friend that you have been saying, I need to reach out to this person. So those are things that we really need to, you know, recognize in ourselves. They are very, very important.
Wow, I see there are very many ways to cultivate the inner being. Maybe you can connect it to faith. How we can use faith to cultivate the inner being.
Okay, so number one you need to understand is that we have talked about gratitude. Actually, all these things that we have mentioned, they are connected to faith. All of them, to do with gratitude, to do with self-awareness, because you have to know yourself. Only through knowing you can you know God. Can you connect to God? At times, and I want to ask our viewers this, I want you to reflect on this. In your journey of knowing who you are, do you love God or do you fear him? Okay?
Yes.
Because this has a very strong basis in building your foundation in healing. Because we require to cultivate healing in methods that also embrace God and what we believe in. So at times you find that we have been told so much about God. God is somewhere trying to punish you, waiting to see you fail.
You don't do this, God will do this.
God, So in our minds, it's fear that is motivating us to pray. It's fear that is motivating us to go to church. But fear and love don't go together. The moment you start now writing these core beliefs, maybe I've been praying God to do this, but I think God punishes me. So how am I even going to receive the blessing that God has for me? So number one, you need to understand that this is what I need to do. Understand, first of all, do I love God or do I fear him? If I fear him, work on those thoughts and work towards learning to love God, to coexist with God as a loving person, not somebody who wants the worst for you, who is trying to punish you, who has written sins for you, you know, because then you'll always go to God feeling of low self-worth, low self-esteem, like you're not deserving, like you're not worthy. But that is not how God looks at us. Those are the misconceptions. Those are the, you know, things
actually,
we have picked.
There's a friend who was telling me
that
she's in a season where things are working good, they are working for her, and she was like, I feel like God is really amenika kwa trap. Some things they are so good to be true, ni kama atanipea hizi mambo zote, alafu all of a sudden anifanyie kitu ningie kwa trouble. So I was like, oh, nabeba God aje, you know, because wamefika place we always kila siku tuna come up with the beliefs that God, before kufanyia kitu unakaa ama you pass these struggles before the good things happen to you. So maybe that's what you're talking about.
Definitely. Because that is the idea we have about God, that maybe hata yu uzuri ananipea, you know, because inside you don't feel worthy of God's grace, you don't feel worthy of God's blessing. So even when God blesses you, you will start doubting it. You will start like planning for it. It's just 1 year, maybe ni miezi tatu tu. So you even start preparing for doom while in the process of God's favor. So it's very important. Another one thing I'd want to add on cultivating, that is the inner being, it is forgiveness. That is one thing that's very spiritual, rooted in faith, and very scientific at the same time. That is one thing that encompasses the body, the mind, and the spirit. It's a process of letting go, a very intentional process, grace. It's very personal. You know, at times we expect, that is, to forgive somebody so that they forgive us. Or for a person who wronged us to forgive us. At times the forgiveness is never going to come from them. But the burden that we have been carrying, we need to let go. The guilt, the resentment, you know, the anger and the bitterness. These are things that have blocked us from God's grace. Things that have blocked us from healing, from our own blessings. At times we are praying, God, give this to me. But anakuangalia, anaona, hey Joan, the whole, you know, you have like a whole bag. The inner of you is in conflict with the outer of you and what you want. When he looks at the inside, he sees somebody carrying burdens of guilt, anxiety, that is resentment, bitterness towards other people, bitterness towards self, and there is no room for his blessings. He is asking, just let something go so that you can create room for me. So that is very important, to understand that every time we let go, every time we forgive, it's not even the other person, it is what we are letting go, the emotions, the attachments to pain, the attachments to anger, to bitterness and resentment. So every time we let go, we allow, we give more room for what we want to come into our lives. So anytime that you think you are in a position where you feel that you have a lot of anger, resentment, things are not working, other than looking, God is not doing, you know, you know, the source is not doing, look at one thing. What is it? Look at the self. What is it I need to let go today? Who is it I need to forgive today? Go back through the memory lane. Maybe mtu alikufanyia kitu kadogo and you have carried it as a burden. So just reflect, what do I need to do today? Who do I need to forgive? What do I need to let go today? You are creating room for that blessing. Yes.
Wow, so this calls for self-care. Let's just call it and wrap it up and say it calls for self-care.
Yes, self-care and self-love. I'll say self-care and self-love. And I love that because people now are learning, we are learning about self-care. We are learning that we need solitude, time alone. We need to walk in nature, you know, enjoy that just cool breeze, things that we used not to do before. At times tulikuwa tunasema hiyo ni kama ushamba. But now it's the new thing, you know, in town, because now we realize we've been so much crowded with a lot of media, a lot of things, expectations, that we need time alone. And that's why solitude is very important. And something else to add to solitude is fasting.
Oh, fasting can help.
Yes. You see, fasting, before also I did not know the connection between fasting and health. That is mental health, spiritual health, and emotional health, and the bodily health. One, when you decide to fast, So the body, because it uses that energy to process the food, it is not doing so. So you have enough time to think about self. You have enough time to think about you, and you have a lot of energy. It's also a time for you to connect on the inside. Yes, so that's why people fast. For spiritual reasons, for emotional reasons, because at times you just want to be with that emotion. It's correlated in that for some of us, when we have addictions, you know, could be alcohol, could be emotional addictions, we fuel them in by eating. So you'll find somebody is stressed, they just eat. But when you stop eating, then you allow yourself to feel the emotion.
Wow, thank you so much for that. I didn't know even fasting is part of it. Thank you for opening our eyes. Maybe you can tell our viewers in some few minutes, some few seconds, because our time is gone.
All right.
Where they can find you, and if you can, what you do, like literally, come on, unasaidia mtu mwenye anapitia such thing.
All right. Yes, so as I said earlier, my name is Joan Njeri Gashoka. I'm a mental health practitioner. I'm also a wellness coach. So my approach to therapy is that of integrating spirituality and psychotherapy together. So I help individuals realign back to who they are, their inner selves, reconnect to that, you know, every day. So I help people dealing with issues of depression, anxiety, navigating relationships, people who just want to have self-awareness, people going through loss and grief. So I guide them into that. So if you need my services, you can find me. That is on WhatsApp. I have a number. I'm sure you'll get it on the screen. It's 0786 296 291. That's my WhatsApp business call. You can also find me on Instagram as Remembering Me at Remembering Me 254. You can also find me, that is on TikTok, for daily nuggets of wisdom. You can get me on TikTok as Hannah Joan and Facebook as Hannah Joan. I'm very glad to be here.
Thank you so much. We are glad to have you and also learn from you. Our dear viewers, hata sijui ni add nini, but just continue doing self-care and self-love, and remember that you are worthy the way you are. See you next time and have a good day.